Hello, welcome back to Full of the Took. We are here tonight to talk about Book 2, Chapter 6, Lothlorien. Or as I like to say, Lothlorien.
Good job.
Lothlorien.
Yeah, it's still just the L'Oreal commercial.
Yeah.
Just their hair blowing in the trees.
Yeah, real slow motion. I actually
official-
picture that when I was reading the title. I was
the
like,
official shampoo of the elves.
yeah,
Honestly, like I could see that all of them.
Yeah.
Just
Elves in the Woods just doing. Was that L'Oreal or was that?
I feel like that's more herbal essences.
Herbal
Herbal,
essence.
was it herbal essence? Oh, herbal. It was like.
Or Calgon, take me away.
It was like very like erotic in their commercials in the 90s. And I was like, what is going on? It's shampoo. Like, this makes me feel weird. I don't know. I felt it in my loins.
Oh, wow.
My lowest loins.
Oh, my God. So last chapter began at the tomb of Balin, where orcs suddenly appeared and a fierce battle ensued, resulting in Frodo getting injured and Gandalf struggling to perform a spell against an unknown dark force. They journeyed further into the mines until they came across a deep chasm which could only be crossed by a narrow bridge. As they began crossing the bridge, they realized the dark presence pursuing them was a Balrog, and he leapt onto the bridge toward them. Boromir and Aragorn ran to aid Gandalf, but he commanded them to stay back and face the Balrog on his own. Gandalf managed to hold the Balrog back by collapsing the bridge, but the creature's fiery whip snared Gandalf, also pulling him into the abyss. The company, now led by Aragorn, ran out of the mines to safety, and grief at last overcame them.
yeah.
We got to start charging people money for that voiceover that you're giving. It's very compelling.
It's one of my favorite chapters of the whole book. I mean, I cried last episode.
How do we all feel about this chapter?
I loved it.
We
but
needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It was
was
beautiful.
so devastated and down, and I just needed the tree people. The golden leaves.
Well, it's really an interesting chapter, and obviously Pat's going to dive into it, but I just could not handle emotionally any more of the same of what we had just come from.
The fallout of what had just happened.
Not only the fallout, but just the arduous grind of the walk and everything sort of like dumping on them.
The horrible tension that started the moment they left Rivendell
Yeah.
and like did not end and hasn't ended.
Yeah. So it was just, it felt like we went to like level 3 and it was like a new map that we were on, you know, to explore.
New vibes.
New vibes. And not like in the last chapter, it was a lot of like, they looked into the shadows but couldn't see anything except death and sadness. And it was just like over and over, like, "Blah." And this was like a nice breeze. Like when you put the window down in your car and you just get a nice like, it's like a breath of fresh air, you know? I needed it too.
Yeah,
I
it was
definitely
refreshing.
needed it. Yeah.
So I guess we'll get into chapter 6, Lothlorien.
Let's dive in.
The chapter opens up with the Fellowship minus Gandalf spent like just catching their breath, basically just out of bow shot, which is what, maybe 500 yards off of the door. And Aragorn is like, okay, everybody's had a good cry, but we gotta go. And, you know, with Gandalf was our hope, we don't have him anymore. But you got me, and we will continue even without hope. But maybe we'll get vengeance. And we're going to follow Gandalf's path. So everybody up and at him. Actually, you know what, Chris? I want to take a second. And I want to talk about what you said about how it feels like a new level. Because it is. Because this is the first time anything in the book has happened east of the Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
Everything else we've done has been west of the Misty Mountains. That sort of brackets that whole part of the world. So now they're past that major barrier.
Yeah.
And south of them and east of them is Rohan, is Gondor. Further out is Ithilien. Further than that is Mordor. And that's where they're headed. So for the first time, we're seeing this part of the world.
Yeah.
And what do they see? The first thing that happens is as they're leaving the gates of Moria, Gimli is like, you know, I got to see Mirrormere, this lake that Durin saw, the father of, like, the greatest father of dwarves saw before he founded Moria. And Aragorn's like, all right, but you got to be quick, man. We got no time. And Gimli's like, Frodo, you got to come with me. And so they do, and they go, and Sam just kind of like comes along as well. And so they go and they see this like standing stone carved with like ancient runes. And it's like, Gimli's like, this is the spot. This is the marker. This is literally, and if you've ever gone to a historical place and been like, this is the spot where George Washington crossed the river, or where, Mary Queen of Scots slept, or, where a speech was given, or this was where somebody was standing when they were shot. Like you get certain chills from that if you know a lot about it. And Gimli knows everything about this. This is a huge part of his culture. So he's standing there and he's like, this is amazing. He looks into this lake and it's not described as a great lake. It's crappy, kind of, right? You get the impression it's a little lake, but it's incredibly still and just incredibly dark and blue. And as they look into it, they see the mirror part of it. It starts to reflect the mountains and the sky. And then as they look, even though it's full daylight out, they start seeing like stars appear in the bottom. And Sam's like, in it. And then they all just head back. And Pippin's like, so how was that? We're kind of being chased. Like, how was your detour, guys? And Sam has nothing to say about it. Gimli, probably stoked. Frodo, nobody asks. And Aragorn's like, okay, good. Are we done sightseeing? Let's go. Because ahead of them, on the horizon, Legolas is super fucking excited because he sees this like golden glow almost. It's these golden trees is the horizon in the distance. That's Lothlorien. That's where they're going. For the first time, they are seeing something good. Legolas is stoked. Aragorn is stoked. Everyone else is kind of on the fence because the hobbits don't know anything about it. Gimli's like, yeah, all right, another forest full of elves. What do you got?
Yeah.
And Boromir is, has a whole bunch of feelings.
As usual.
Boromir is a big man struggling with big feelings. and they are going, and Aragorn is like all long strides, him and his long shanks legs. Wasn't that what Sandyman yelled at him on the way out? And he is just going. He's speed walking his way to, he's booking it. And Legolas eventually turns around and is like, Frodo and Sam are not doing good. They are lagging way behind. Aragorn is like, oh my God, with everything that happened, I forgot Frodo got almost killed and Sam's got a big cut on his head.
Yeah.
So first thing Aragorn does is like, he's like, all right, start a fire, heat some water. Here's some more.
He's like, it's too much. Add for less.
It was such a serious moment, and I'm like giggling during like the read through.
The same thing, yeah.
I was like,
these stupid jokes come back in my head when Maria. I'm like, oh damn it, I ruined it.
And you know what? That's taking up space for something else, and it's going to forever.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, something else really important did not have room to be lingering in my brain.
Just fell off. So he's like, all right, we're going to do some first aid. The first thing he does is he looks over Sam's head wound and is like, oh, thank God, it's not poisoned. You're going to be okay, kid.
He opens his head like a taco. He's like,
oh my God. Just like peel it. Oh, there's a lot of blood in there. Not give him a little shake, a little rattle. Yeah, we're going to rub some dirt in it. You'll be fine.
Oh my God.
And then he turns to Frodo and he's like, all right, let's see what the old hammer and anvil did to you. And he goes to like, oh yeah, he's got some scrapes and whatever. And then he goes to like take off Frodo's shirt, and Frodo's not stoked about the idea because underneath is, wouldn't you know it, the mithril armor. And Aragorn is like, well, I guess we know where that ended up. Yeah. And everybody is super stoked and super surprised. And just like, Gimli is like, I never thought in my life I would see that much mithril in one place. And then it's like, all right, guys, up and at 'em. Here we go. Keep on keeping on. Because they are not very far. The sun is going to go down real soon. And when that sun goes down, all the orcs in Moria are going to come out after them. So they book it. Night has fallen. It's probably only like 5:30. Really.
Sounds familiar.
And so, yeah.
daylight savings time.
Yep.
Yep. Thomas Jefferson.
Do you think they had that in Middle Earth?
I do
Well,
not.
I mean, I think,
no.
Ben Franklin, if Ben Franklin was in, because, he's the guy who came up with it.
Really?
Right? Am I not crazy? It was Ben Franklin?
I could not tell you.
Pretty sure it was Ben Franklin. We're going to go with that. If Ben Franklin was in Middle Earth,
I got a bone to pick.
he would be a villain. He would be a villain.
Oh, Benny Frankie. What a fucking dickhead.
Like, he would be Tom Bombadil's weird, unsavory mirror.
Dude, Tom
Yeah.
Bombadil's like, ugh. I don't like
that guy.
I don't like that guy.
Oh man, I could like riff on that for a million years. But we got places to be.
We got places to be.
So it's dark out, and Frodo and Gimli are quiet, and they're in the back of the line, and they're just listening for orcs because that's going to be the only heads up they have. Is like the two guys at the end of the line are like, "Psst, we're about to get fucking jumped."
Right.
That's it. That's all they've got. So they're being dead silent. And finally, Gimli is just like, "Yeah, I think it's okay. I haven't heard anything. All I hear is trees and bushes and a little bit of wind. And you know what? Maybe the orcs didn't want to follow us. Maybe, fingers crossed, they just wanted us out of Moria, and that's good enough for them, right?" And Frodo's like, "I'm pretty sure something's following us." And Gimli's like, "What?"
And he sees the eyes.
Yeah, and he's been seeing like two little points of light, almost like eyes, and it's like something's following them. And Gimli's like, "Okay, well then, hold on, let's listen." And they take a long listen, and they don't hear anything. And Gimli's like, "Nah, I think we're good."
You're full of shit.
Yep.
Well, Frodo has like super spidey senses
Yeah, he's got
now
spidey
because of the
senses.
ring.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so he hears
Oh,
more
I
than
didn't
everybody
even
else.
think
Remember
about
with the
that.
ring,
Yeah.
anything that is ill intent on the ring is aware of.
And in darkness and shadow and hiding things, like all these things, he's got spider senses now. But they appear to be mostly unhelpful at this point.
Arachnid man. Arachnid.
But this is also the first time he's mentioned it to anyone.
He finally
even though
has
he's
said
been
it, yes.
hearing it for like days, if not weeks. I
Like-
kept wondering, why aren't you telling anyone?
Well, because maybe he.
Well, it's hard to admit you're hearing voices or sounds.
Well, yes, I think we could really get into that though, because there's a lot of reasons why you might not say anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for right now, they come up to this golden wall essentially, because the trees of Lothlorien don't lose their leaves in winter. They have
Love this.
They have golden leaves that stay on these white barked trees all through winter, but it's this golden wall. And Legolas is like waxing about how amazing Lorien is. This is a place of secret power, and Lothlorien is kept from the shadow by the virtue of elves. So they come up to Lothlorien, and they're going to walk in, and they're at the golden walls. And Aragorn's like, "Okay, we're going to go in, and we're going to have to fend for ourselves tonight. We'll find the elves tomorrow. It's going to be fine. Let's go." Boromir, "No, I ain't doing it." So Aragorn turns to him and says, "Okay, well, what other road would you take?" Boromir says, "I would go like fucking anywhere else. I would go down a road hedged with swords." And Aragorn's like, "Uh-huh. Would you go back to the unscalable mountains? Would you swim the river Anduin all the way to the sea by your lone ass self? Would you go back to Moria? Because that's your options."
He's like talking to him like a child. He's
Yeah.
like, "Is that what you want to do? You want to turn around and go back?
Hey, big man with the big idea.
Big man with the big idea, the big shield, the big horn."
And so Boromir's like, and Boromir's like, "I said we shouldn't go to Moria, and we did, and something bad happened. I'm also just saying, so I can say I told you so, we shouldn't go in this fucking wood either." So they go in, and they come across this like musical stream. Like everybody's struck by like how pretty it sounds, the water over the rocks and everything. And Legolas is like, "This is the Nimrod-el. This is a storied stream. There's even a song about it. I'll sing it." As they walk across this little stream, everybody feels better. It's like healing waters. Legolas sings them this song. And everybody's like, "Oh, wow." And he's like, "Yeah, that's all I can remember. This song is really old and really long, and it's really sad because a lot of bad shit happened in Lothlorien after the dwarves awoke the evil in Moria." Bud. And Gimli's like, "We didn't make it."
Yeah.
And Legolas is like, "That's not what I said."
Right. Yeah.
And so the tension is like up. And Legolas is playing tour guide at this point because now this is his shit. He knows the most, or at least he's willing to talk the most. And he's like, "Out here, they sleep up in trees. So why don't we go ahead and we'll find a nice tree?" And everybody's looking real skeptical about it. And one of the hobbits, I think it's Pippin, is like, he says, "I'm not a bird. I'm not sleeping in a fucking tree." And Legolas says,
Direct quote.
and Legolas is like, "Oh, well then, bud, you better diggy a little hole, and it better be deep, and you better start soon, because the orcs are going to find your dumbass."
He was like, "You can kiss my acorns. I'm not going up there."
Right. And Legolas is like,
Ain't
"Well,
no squirrel.
all right, later, nerd." And he goes to jump up and start climbing the tree, and as soon as he gets a hand on a branch, somebody yells some Elvish from up there. It's kind of like, "Halt, stop." And Legolas like drops and freezes, and he goes, "Nobody move, nobody move. It's elves. They found us." They go back and forth a little bit in Elvish, and Frodo cannot follow the conversation because he knows Elvish spoken west of the mountains, but they are east of the mountains now.
Yeah.
After a second, Legolas is like, it's fine. But they want to talk to Frodo. And then they drop a ladder down, and Frodo's like, okay, I guess I'll go. And Legolas goes up, and Frodo goes up, and Sam goes up. Because, like you do.
Why not?
Right. So they get up to the top, and there's these 3 elves in like camo cloaks. Frodo tries to like say hi in Elvish, and the guy lets him kind of go on and struggle through, and then like cuts to like common Western like language that they speak in the Shire, and he's like, we know who Frodo is. We know you are Frodo. Elrond sent messengers and said to look out for bobbits or something. I guess that must be you. And who else you got down there? And Legolas is like, oh, we got 4 bobbits, an elf, 2 humans. And the guy's like, that is 7? There's 8 of you. He's like, and a dwarf? Oh, fuck that. Dwarf. Ew, a dwarf. Absolutely not. He can leave. The rest of you can stay. And Frodo's like, no. He's cool, man. Just be cool. And so this elf, one of the guards, Haldir is who he is like, okay, fine. But Legolas, this is all on you. That dwarf, the bobbits, this whole thing is on you. We got 2 of these like tree platforms. The hobbits are going to sleep in here with us because we're not afraid of them. Everyone else get in the next one. And no funny business, or so help us God.
Oh my God.
And so the hobbits come up. Not. You read too much Outlander.
I do.
So
She does. She's reading it right now.
I am.
So, oh man. So Merry and Pippin climb the ladder, and they get up this platform, and they're huffing and puffing. It's like, yeah, I hope
bet
you
they
didn't. I hope you didn't want any food or water because all we could bring was blankets. And the elves are like, okay, hold on.
Start again.
Yeah.
No, we can keep all that. That's fine. And so the elves are like, yeah, you can leave food and water at the bottom. It's fine. Here's some good food. And the hobbits are super thrilled. What they're not thrilled about is that they look around, and it's a platform. It's a pretty big space, but there's no railings. There's no walls. They've got like a windscreen on one part of it. And the elves are like, yeah, you'll be fine. Just curl up and go to sleep. And nobody is cool with that, except Sam is like, yeah, fuck it. I will fall asleep, and then I will fall all the way asleep, I guess. This is fine.
Yeah.
So they go to sleep, and sometime in the night, Frodo wakes up because he hears something. Like he hears like orcs and like metal on metal and like tramping feet and everything. And he is like, he checks Sting, and Sting is blazing blue. And he's just listening, and the orcs pass under the tree, like right under them. And he's like looking around, and because even though the blade fades and the orcs are gone, he's like, something is telling him danger has not passed. And he's listening as hard as he can. And he kind of hears like snuffling and sniffing and movement. And then he peeks over, and there's something climbing up the tree at him. And it's like halfway up and staring at him. It's these blue eyes staring at him, seeing him see him. And then it scatters. It just goes around the side of the tree and is gone. And then Haldir shows up, and he's like, there were a bunch of orcs. They're headed south. Don't worry. None of them are making it out alive. But also, what the fuck was that thing? I didn't shoot it because I thought maybe it would be with you. What fucking was that?
Yeah, he says it almost looked like a hobbit-like creature.
Yeah, it acted like a beast, but it was not beast shaped.
Yeah.
Clearly not friend shaped. And he really says, he's like, I didn't know what it was. And I didn't shoot it because if it had screamed or made any noise, it would have drawn the orcs back. And right now my brothers are currently leading them on a goose chase into the mother of all ambushes.
It was just Pippin. He was horny and naked. And he was just climbing.
He found some mushrooms.
God.
Shortcut to mushrooms.
He's high as fuck, naked, climbing trees.
Yeah, he found some Elvish mushrooms.
He got into some bath salts.
You know what I'm saying?
Kids these days.
Pippin was popping.
But Dawn finds them, and Haldir says, okay, that was cool. Y'all got to go as fast as we can. Go south. We're going to the heart of the woods. So Haldir's leading them along, and the Nimrod-el finds a larger stream, and Haldir's like, we don't make bridges for safety reasons anymore. But watch this, and pulls out some rope, ties it to a tree, whips it across, and some elf steps up from behind a tree, grabs the other end, ties it around the tree on his side. They pull it tight, and Haldir's like, "Behold, a bridge."
Like, hello.
Hup, hup, and off he goes, and he just runs across this bridge like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Come on, guys, it'll be fine." And they're like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm just kidding with you." And they do 2 more ropes, one at shoulder height for the men, and then one at like mid-thigh height for the hobbits. And the idea is like everybody's gonna like cross like normal people instead of like running across.
Right.
Except Legolas, who's probably gonna do cartwheels or some shit.
Probably. Gotta show off.
Right.
Blindfolded still.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, watch this. So,
Cartwheels.
they roll across. Pippin has the easiest time of all because his eye's on the prize. He's looking across the river and he's just going. He's just like, don't look down, don't think about what you're doing, just cross.
Yeah.
And he's fine. And Sam, on the other hand, is directly between his toes, just looking at the river flow past him every step of the way, contemplating his mortality the entire time.
Yes.
So everybody's on that side of the river, and Haldir looks around. He's like, "Welcome to the Gore," He's like,
Yikes.
or the Nyath, which is the same thing. It's what the Gore is a word that comes from like Old English, and it means like land between 2 rivers, essentially.
Are you sure it doesn't mean Nath River?
Very nice,
It's a very Nath River.
very nice. How much?
How Dave?
I can cross and you
Nath
cannot.
River. How Dave?
I can cross, he must cross, but he cannot cross. Ha ha ha.
You don't have a rope. You don't have a rope. I'll stop with that horribly offensive accent now.
Excellent. Anyway, so Haldir's like, "Welcome to the heart of the forest. Behold the elven heartland. This is Lorien." And now, as previously agreed, we will blindfold the dwarf. And he was like, what the fuck? I didn't agree to shit. And Legolas is like, "Be chill. This was all part of the deal. I didn't mention to you because you get upset. So stop. Don't embarrass me. Just stop.
Don't make a scene.
Don't make a scene." And Gimli's like, "You know what? I'm going to make a scene. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm going to walk my happy ass out." And Haldir's like, "No, you're not. We're going to blindfold you and take you to my bosses. This is now a situation that's out of your hands because if you try to leave, you will be dead before you know it because the woods are now full of elves looking for anything and everything. And a dwarf walking the wrong way qualifies as an everything."
Yeah.
And so
He's
Gimli-
like pulling on his axe and shit.
Yeah,
right?
that's when the axe comes out.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Gimli's
yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, it's that way." And so he puts his hand on his axe, and the elves are getting ready to shoot him. Legolas is like throwing his hands up and is like, "Oh, yeah, well, you know, this is the stiff necks of dwarfs causing trouble." And Aragorn is like, "No, we will just all wear the blindfolds." And Gimli's like, "Yeah, you know what? We'll all wear blindfolds. We'll have Haldir lead us through the woods like a line of assholes. Yeah, this will be fucking great." And then he laughs. And he's like, "You know what? No, I'll do you one better. You can blindfold me, and I will be happy as can be. But Legolas, you're getting blindfolded too."
Yeah.
And Legolas is like, "What? Fuck that. I'm an elf. I belong here. I've been waiting my whole life to see these woods. Fuck that. Fuck you." And Aragorn is like, "We're just all gonna get blindfolded." And Legolas is like, "No, we're not. Where's Haldir? Where's the fucking trust?" And Haldir's like, "What trust, man? There is no trust. Because if one of you sees something and it comes out later in the wrong way and it gets everyone I know killed, well, we're not gonna do that."
Yeah.
And everybody's like taking a second. And Haldir like says to basically nobody and everybody. And he says, "It's wild that the power of Sauron is on display at no other time as clearly as when we experience all these divisions as the free peoples of Middle-earth. All of this distrust comes from the fact that Sauron is threatening all of us, because that's why you have to do this, because Sauron is an existential threat to everyone I know and love. And I will trade all of you for them. So put on the fucking blindfolds." There they are. Haldir's got the head of the rope. Everyone else is like kind of just tagged along. Like, you ever seen like preschoolers getting taken on a little field trip?
On the leash with all the kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just like Gimli said. And Haldir's doing the whole like, "And to your left you'll see." No, you won't see, but it's
Yes,
there, I promise. And he's kind of just talking about Lothlorien and how like the rivers used to keep us safe, and these rivers flow eastward into the Anduin and then down out to the sea. And that's all very special. And it's very like the world out there is not safe anymore. And that leads him to this thought where like, yeah, we're safe here. Nothing changes here. But is it too late? Did we wait too long? Is the world that changed outside of Lorien? To the north is the mountains and the horrors that live there. It's getting unsafe. To the east is a wasteland filled with nothing but like Sauron's creatures. To the south, it's not safe to go through Rohan anymore, we're hearing. And to the west, there's nothing out there. We could go to the sea if we can even get there. They say maybe there's the Havens, the shipwright is somewhere in the north. Even if that exists, we don't know where it is. And Mary's like, I know where that is.
Fucking Mary in this moment. Oh, you pissed me off in that moment. Of course you know where it is, Mary.
Yeah, if it's up near the Shire, it's like just west of us. It's not that bad.
That was Mary.
Haldir's like, show me, or Haldir's like, show me. And Mary's like, I actually don't know where it is.
Yeah. It's like,
What's it look like?
Yeah.
it's like, well, I've never been there.
I've actually never been there. I lied.
Yeah. And Haldir's like, wow, it must be great to live by the sea. And it must be great to live in the Shire with all the bobbits and shit. And that would be super helpful if I knew where either of those things were.
Yeah.
So Haldir wraps this whole thing up with, but you know, there's hope. Because the shadow will probably fade a little bit and peace will reign for a minute. And then maybe we'll get out then if we want to go. But do I really want to go? But the world is faded, and at best that would be a truce because the rest of the world is fading and will never come back to what Lothlorien still is. It's fading. It's not what it once was. And it feels lesser to everyone with these lifespans. Frodo's got his blindfold on and his spidey senses are going fucking nuts. He is like, he's aware that he has like stepped through a window out of time. He's in a place that does not exist anymore. There's no shadow there, and there never has been. And so as Frodo's having these realizations and these spider tingles, they get absolutely overcome by like a troop of elves, just surprises them, like a party, a war party, rolls up. Haldir has a quick exchange with them and is like, good news, everyone. The orcs are mostly dead. The rest never going to see the outside of this woods. It's fine. We got a whole bunch of elves going north. They're going to keep the northern border safe. There will be no more orcs. There's something weird in the woods. Your little not a beast animal thing. It's around, but nobody's shooting at it because we don't know what it is yet. But also, everyone can take off their blindfolds because the Lady of the Galadrim knows who you all are and says it's fine, even the dwarf. By the way, Gimli, you should feel real cool about that because you are literally the first dwarf to see these trees since Durin's time.
It's so cool.
And like that's before Moria fell. That's before Sauron. Like it is the ancient times because this grudge between dwarves and elves that keeps coming up a little bit is truly ancient. They all look around and they are at Cairn Amroth, which means the Mound of Amroth. And the song that Legolas sang was about an elf woman named Nimrod-el, who shared a name with the stream, and an elf named Amroth, who was a king here. And it's like this sad story about how when Amroth went to go over the sea, he got in a boat and they were waiting for Nimrod-el, and she just never showed up. And when the gust of wind blows the ship out to sea, Amroth is waiting, and he's waiting, and then he says, fuck it, I'm going from my lady, dives off the front of the ship, swims towards land, and is never seen again. And this is his hill. The grass is the greenest green that's ever greened. It's got little white flowers all through it. It's gorgeous. And in the center is this hill, and it's crowned with 2 rings of trees, one without leaves, still gorgeous, and one inner taller ring, massive gold and silver trees. And everyone else throws themselves on the ground and it's just like, fuck, this is so nice to relax after a week of being chased for my life. Except Frodo, who is just like overwhelmed. Because again, he knows like this is like the elder days. I am out of space and time here. He feels like he is seeing things for the first time they've ever been seen. Like at the moment of creation, it's like what is green? What is grass? What is the wind? What does it feel like? And Sam is like rubbing his eyes and like, fuck me. It is broad daylight, but am I dreaming? I know I have a little bit of a concussion, but this feels like a song. And everybody else is like just relaxing. And Haldir looks at Sam and Frodo and is like, you guys want to go up the hill? Do you want to? They walk up this slope to the top. And Frodo has this experience, and he's like, in his heart, he knows that even when he leaves the forest, on some level, Frodo, the explorer, will always be here. It will always be a memory, a thing that has happened and will happen and is always happening. And it's like this, and he's having this like weird, like fucked up moment. And Haldir's like, do you want to go up the tree? You want to go all the way up? And he's like, yeah. And at that moment, the wind changes and it comes up from the south, from the sea, which is hundreds of miles away. But Frodo hears in the wind waves crashing on beaches that he knows are long gone. He hears the cries of seabirds that he knows. He's never heard these before, but he knows these are extinct animals. No one's heard these in an age. And so they climb. They climb up the tree because there's a big platform in the center ring, and up they go. Haldir beats them to the top. And Frodo getting ready to look around, and Haldir just kind of like, no, look this way first. Look, what do you see? And he stares south, and he sees the city of the people of Lorien. It's a city made of trees or green towers or something. It's just enormous trees. And it's radiating light and power. That is the center. That light and power radiates from that place. And then he looks past, and he sees where the rivers that run through Lorien run to the Anduin. Then reality sets right back in, and he sees like, oh, the lands outside of Lorien are gray and like brown and shapeless. And in the distance, he sees this like wall, this dark wall of trees. And he knows in that moment that whatever it is that keeps Lorien this way has no power beyond Lorien. It cannot help anyone else. And Haldir's like, yeah, that nightmare over there, that's Mirkwood. In there is Dol Guldur, the Hill of Sorcery that we learned about before.
Yes.
It was Sauron's hiding place after he was defeated. It's this shadow hanging over the southern end of one of the greatest forests in Middle-earth, and they can see it from where they're standing. It is this beating heart of darkness. And Haldir says to Frodo, that darkness, that place is revealed to us through our light and power, but that we can see that secret heart of darkness. But the darkness has not yet perceived our power and our hiding place. They have a look around. The spell's kind of broken for Frodo a little bit. So they go down the ladder and they descend back to the hill. And when they get to the bottom, Frodo sees Aragorn, and he's got a flower in his hand, and he looks like he hasn't got a care in the world. Like all the age and stress and grimness is gone from him, and he is living in a memory that is clearly incredibly meaningful and happy for him. He says something in Elvish, and it just starts with the word Arwen. And Frodo's like, hey, what's up, man? And Aragorn just says to him, we are in the heart of elvendom on this earth. This is the real center of what it means to be Elvish. This is what the whole world was like before the shadow, before Sauron and Morgoth and all of it. And this is where my heart will dwell forever, unless there is a light waiting for us on the other side of the dark roads that you and I must walk. Come on, Frodo, let's go. Takes him by the hand and walks away, and Tolkien tells us that Aragorn never returns to that place as a living man.
That is such a powerful last line.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the last line of the chapter.
Oh my God. Dude, 1 billion questions. First question, does it come back as a ghost?
I know.
Right?
I was like,
The
why
zombie
did they
Aragorn-
specify as a living man?
No.
He's a ranger, so he lives longer than regular guys. So
he a
does zombie
zombie?
Aragorn come back? That's what I want to know. Don't answer the question because you probably know
No, I'm not
zombie
answering your
Aragorn.
question.
for zombie Aragorn.
So
I'm not answering your question, but I took that as a really beautiful ending, especially in comparison to the previous chapter's
Sure.
ending, because that previous chapter was Gandalf being pulled into a dark abyss against his will. And this one ended with Aragorn not dying, but accepting that one day, especially with the task at hand, he probably will meet his demise. And he's choosing to live in this beautiful memory in this eternal place for eternity. And he's
Yes.
going to say, I would love to go to a heaven or whatever afterlife, however you want to say it. But if I can't, I'm content to have my soul live in this beautiful moment for eternity. And he's choosing the light. And that's like, I needed that. It was such a comfort.
But the other thing that I guess I kind of read into that is that because it's a timeless place, if you've been there once, you'll always be there. Right? So maybe just in other people's memories,
What?
Aragorn will always be there. Frodo will always be there because it's a timeless place and never changes.
Right.
So that was cool.
It is cool, right? But like, what I love about this whole thing is that it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful moment from Aragorn's. Like, we learn something about Aragorn's inner hopes. But what's funny is that for elves, heaven is a place you get to. There's a boat you take. They know where Haldir doesn't know where the boat is, but everyone else does.
As we learned in that very famous song, "Ooh, heaven is a place on earth."
No. Ooh, heaven is a boat. I don't know.
To the great havens.
I thought that would be funnier.
No. Oh, heaven is a. My brain was like, go with it. You know this.
Yeah, you lost it.
Yeah.
So here's my question:
So-
did
No.
I miss it that is Arwen from this area?
No.
No. Arwen is Elrond's daughter. Arwen's mother is. So they would have. The implication is that they went to Lorien at some point.
Together.
Yeah. Arwen and Aragorn.
And
That's that
is
memory,
that why Aragorn, he's made that journey from Rivendell to Lorien already?
Aragorn said he'd been in Moria before.
Yes.
So
And he did not want to return to it.
Right.
And so if he went there, oh my God, did he go through Moria with Arwen?
oh god.
That's romantic.
Is it?
Oh my God, has anyone thought about that?
No.
Is there a way for elves to move differently? Oh, well, elves can technically move a little differently than like even rangers or humans, even though rangers are better than
Yeah,
humans.
if they just run a rope across the mountains.
But like, in theory, could they run like over
Wait,
the mountain?
Arwen just puts Arwen
someone
on her
said that
back.
Aragorn could.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, she just puts him on her back. She's like, let's go.
Backpack.
or like scoops him up and
Aragorn's
just like
holding on. He's like, Arwen, you're too fast.
down. I can't feel my face.
Oh my God. But that's a fanfic waiting to happen.
Or
Dude, guys, chapter 6. This chapter was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I needed it. I needed it in my soul.
It's a good chapter. It's a feel-good chapter. The one thing I wanted to say though about the Aragorn
yes.
and the afterlife thing, because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about like if there is an afterlife for men. Everyone knows as a fact there's an afterlife for elves. Aragorn's got no fucking idea what's going to happen to him,
Oh, interesting.
and he's grown up with elves. So it's like
and they're talking like it's fact.
because it is
They're
fact.
like, well, when we get to stage 2,
right.
everything will be okay. And he's like, I think my character ends at stage 1.
Yeah, Aragorn is like, do all dogs go to heaven?
Yeah.
And they're like, whoo, buddy. Yeah, here you go, kid. Have
So-
some more liquor.
This chapter introduced a concept to my brain that I'm curious if you guys remember this. I felt very much like this chapter was relative to The Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, I love
I
that
love that
movie.
movie.
Do you remember that film?
Yep.
Loved that film. One of my favorites.
Where
So how?
I always think of
a
Tutti
small
Frutti.
toaster has a journey, a quest to complete, and
He has a little
builds
lamp
his
friend.
own fellowship
Yeah.
of discarded appliances to help him complete his journey. And I don't know why, but this popped into my head when we were reading this. And I was like, oh my God.
That's so cute.
This is like The Brave Little Toaster. Is The Brave Little Toaster based on
I
Tolkien?
think it might be.
I need to rewatch that movie,
I don't
dude.
remember
watch
the
that movie.
villain, but I remember it being scary and fiery.
They had to go to the big fire pit where
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
crush
Yeah,
all
the
the things
compactor,
and
probably the
the compact.
It was the
Landfill.
junkyard
And there's
or
a
whatever.
big fire, and
Yeah,
there's
they
like
have
a
to throw
big
the ring in.
There's a big. It's not a ring. It's a square. It's a square of fire that they're heading into.
Yeah, it's like a furnace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe
The Furnace of Doom.
maybe this might be a
We
hot
need to
take.
have a viewing.
The Brave Little Toaster.
And then
we need to watch
compare.
this. Is that a modern retelling for kids to be introduced to Tolkien at a young age?
Well, that
It
because
might be.
because one of the characters is Legolas.
Legolas.
The fucking lamp, dude.
Yeah, right.
Because there's also the radio that like tunes into like random stations to
The vacuum
communicate.
cleaner.
That's Mary.
yeah.
Oh, that would be Mary.
God.
I liked how the chapter opened.
Yeah.
The humans in this book love to remind everybody when they were right. They're always like, I told you so. Maybe that's just a very human thing. But like one of the first lines is that Aragorn looks towards the mountain and he says, did I not say to you, if you pass the doors of Moria, beware, Gandalf? He's like,
Yeah.
I fucking
What?
told you.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so inappropriate of him to be bringing this up right
know.
now. I told you so.
Fucking told you.
Well, like
And it's
imagine
like, bro, read the room.
or imagine it as an expression of grief, right? Like, because it is.
That's how assholes grieve by saying, "I
Making
told
it
you
all about
so."
them.
Yeah. Well, because it also, Boromir, the one thing he's like, before we go in there, I just want to remind everybody.
Yeah.
I said not to go
Yeah.
into Moria and it fucked us. And I'm saying don't go into the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, those egos are sky high.
I want to talk about Mirrormere and what Gimli
Mirrormere,
and Sam see in the lake.
Or what they don't see.
Or what they don't see. So I thought, we actually, when we first read this, Chris had to pause and be like, what the fuck is happening? And it's like, it is very confusing the way it's written because like, there's a lot of imagery with the mountains looking like jewels and stuff. But Gimli like sees the fucking crown of Durin
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah.
When he stands where Durin stood. And there's a pillar to mark the spot where Durin stood and saw something in the water. And Sam sees something, but when Pippin asks him, he was too deep in thought to answer. Dun, dun, dun.
I noticed that the jewels in the water being like stars in the sky, but it was light out. That was kind of strange, right? You're like,
Right.
okay, so it's a mirror, but it's not showing what's actually there. And they also didn't see their own reflections.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
I think the reason that Sam didn't respond to the question is because he had a concussion and he went nonverbal.
Poor guy.
I have to say,
Then that was as funny as I thought it would be.
I'm so glad we stopped for that. Wait,
where are we again?
I want to rewind for 1 second. Laura said that wouldn't be much like a mirror. And I'm saying that a mirror only is a mirror when you are looking at it from dead on. Also, I don't know anybody that looks straight down at water like that.
You never gone fishing?
Fishing's not real. That's not a real thing. Nobody fishes.
oh my God.
I have a billion things I want to jump right into here. The first thing is Caradhras, the mountain. There's a line, I think Gimli says it, but maybe I'm wrong, where he says, Caradhras, there he stands, smiling in the sun.
And then he shakes his fist at the mountain.
Oh, dude. I like felt that in my bones. I think we've all been there where like something has defeated you in life and you turn around, you look at it and you just want to like sigh and move on with your life. And you have to internally say, you got me. The second thing I want to go into is obviously we have what's known as the Mirrormere. Patrick or RJ, whoever can answer this. What is a mirror?
M-E-R-E.
M-E-R-E.
I think it means dark water or dark lake. Just means that like it's not clear water, it's dark.
Okay.
So when they first walk up and it's black, that's kind of already in the name explaining why it's going to be dark when you walk up.
Okay. The reason I ask is this whole Mirror Lake scene has a ton of words that I legitimately I've never heard in my life before. So I did not know what mirror was. I did not know what sword meant.
I know that one.
What's a sword?
A sward is like grass, like a grassy patch.
Grass is sword. Any grass.
Like a somewhat short patch of grass. Not like overgrown over your head grass. Just like
So
lawn,
any short
lawn-like.
grass.
Like a pasture. That's how
A
I know
pasture.
it. A pasture. You would say like a sword of grass.
Interesting. Okay. There's talk of a freshet. What's a freshet?
It's like a stream that feeds into it.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is whortleberries.
I Googled it.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you? Because that stood out to me.
Yeah. So a whortleberry is related to a blueberry.
Oh,
So they're like blueberry bushes.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting. Did you guys take note on the whortleberries, or was it just us who thought that was interesting?
I just assumed it was a berry.
And the heart's
I just let it
See,
go.
the things that you guys think are interesting and the things that we think are interesting are very different.
Yep. I mean, plants. I got to know what they are. So the heart's tongue that they also mention is a fern.
We both took
cool.
notes on the whortleberries.
I
love that.
You guys fucking skip that. I'm
they've-
just saying.
They've made up some plants and
Yeah.
then others
Yes,
are real.
exactly.
So I needed to know.
So I was like, okay, you got me. I thought the last plant, that the one that like fucking Aragorn chews up,
Athelas.
Athelas.
puts it, you know, like I thought that was real.
Athalath.
And it got me, and I was wrong. It was fake. Oh, damn. So then whortleberry, and I was like, oh shit. And I
That's
was like,
some Dr. Seuss shit right there.
Oh, you're not gonna get me again. And I was like, fuck, it's real. So anyway, I thought that was really funny. In my book, and I don't know how it is in your book, but in my book, it says, at last, Gimli broke the silence. And I think it's when Frodo and him are listening for the sound behind them, right? Anyway, on the page, on the physical book itself, there's the line and there's the line below the line. And it says, at last, Gimli broke the silence. And below it, after the word silence, it says, but the wind. And my mind read it as, at last, Gimli broke the wind.
My brain does that too.
Yeah.
That's not how it was in my book.
It combined
but I
them,
know what
and
you
I was
mean.
like, no, he didn't fart, Chris. Stop. Go back. And I just like combined it in my head.
It's like Jack Black. Stop. Did you hear that?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, no, that's not it. Go back. That's not it. So, also, my note is Boromir is a whiny cunt.
Oh, God.
When he is refusing to go in, I did not appreciate his tone.
I had a lot of questions
Ironically,
about it.
His comment, though, proved, even though it was ignorant, true.
They talk about the woods being perilous.
Because Aragorn says, perilous indeed, fair and perilous, but only evil need fear it, or
Right.
those who bring evil with them.
Well, this was the comment that I actually was like referencing when I first brought up my point, was when Aragorn's rebuttal to Boromir, when he says, say not unscathed, but if you say unchanged, then maybe you will be speaking the truth. Because basically Aragorn's saying like, you know, yeah, that's like an old wives' tale from Gondor that you go in there, everyone that goes in dies or never escapes.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some truth to that, but the real truth is, you know, you might escape or like leave, but you're not going to leave the same. You're going to be changed.
Yeah.
You're not going to leave
yeah.
coming out the way you showed up. And that is probably like scary to men of Gondor.
It's super apparent to anyone who approaches Lothlorien, the forest, that it is a magical place, right? And if it's also a magical place that nobody comes back from, I think it's healthy to assume bad things happen.
Yes.
And if you're in Gondor and that's all you know,
I wanted to bring up something that I felt quite freaking proud of myself for. I knew what Gore meant.
Like
Really?
Al Gore.
Yes.
really? Like the land between two rivers?
Yes.
Get the fuck how? No, I'm not saying that. Wow, but like, but no.
Thanks, buddy.
No, I think you did just say that.
No, but I mean that. Like,
I knew what that was.
like through what context?
Here's the context. You'll never believe this because
I already don't.
okay. Sorry. So I had a funny story happen. A police officer explained to me what a gore was about 10 years ago.
What?
Did you know that when you're on a highway, aka where I was, 422, and an exit happens that cuts off to the right or the left, and then at the last minute, somebody getting off the exit goes, fuck, I'm not supposed to be getting off this exit, and they cut across that triangle of concrete to get back onto the highway.
Like the striped
Yeah, where it's like
no
bup, bup,
man's
bup,
land.
bup, bup, bup.
Yeah.
That's called the gore.
Interesting.
And I crossed that. I got back on 422. Whoop, 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 whoop. Got pulled over immediately. I was like, what's up?
What
And he was
happened?
like, oh, you crossed the gore.
And you're like, what?
And I said, what? What are you talking about? And he was like, I'm sorry, but it's illegal in Pennsylvania to cross the Gore.
And you're like, I still don't know what you're talking about.
Like, bro, I thought I was getting off, but I got back on the highway. I was going about 12 miles an hour. I don't know what you're talking about, but I didn't break any rules. And so I pictured in my head, okay, there's a big thing and a little thing that stems off here. And then what if it was a river?
Oh, there you are.
And he said the Gore, and I was like, oh, I fucking knew it. And then I wanted to be like, it's illegal to cross the Gore.
That would have been really funny.
So anyway, I just thought that was really wild. It's like it's the only time in this whole book where I knew what the word meant before they explained it.
That's all, because honestly, like outside of the context of this book, I do not know that usage of the word
Right?
Gore.
It's crazy.
I've never heard it before.
Anyway, now you know. Don't cross the Gore in Pennsylvania.
Can't do
Maybe
it.
in other
Keep that in
states it's
mind.
fine, but Pennsylvania, don't cross the Gore.
Just take your fucking exit, or do what New
So-
Jerseyans do and reverse down the exit to get back on the highway.
No.
Terrible.
I wanted to
Yeah,
say
that's
just
a
one
terrible.
favorite quote. It's just gonna be really quick. Said by Haldir or Halder. I never say the Elvish names right. He says, "The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places. But still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater."
That's awesome.
And I thought that was such a timely line, especially after the Gandalf, chapter, but also just even for like the present world, it's like resonates with this generation. And it was just such good writing. I just had to bring it up. I was like, when I read that, I was like, "Ooh, that's so good."
Yeah.
I'm gonna like write that down and put it on a wall.
Well, you gotta frame it at this
Yeah,
point.
Cross stitch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also just loved the banter between Legolas and Gimli.
Oh, that
It was so Shakespearean.
funny.
When, Gimli is rightly so refusing to be blindfolded just for being a dwarf.
Which is kind of fucked up.
It was so
Yeah.
inappropriate
I
and
love
so
that they
rude.
agreed to it without letting him know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without
And
his
so
consent.
finally
He
with
was
all
like,
that,
what?
yeah, and with like all the huffing and puffing, Legolas is like, "A plague on dwarves and their stiff necks." You know what I mean? I have to hear the accent. And then Gimli's like, "Fine, I'll be blindfolded, but only if Legolas is as well." And then he starts throwing a fit, and then Aragorn like jumps in and is like, "Now let us cry, a plague on the stiff necks of elves." I was like, that's just great.
So it's like,
A plague on both your houses. It's just
dude,
right back to
exactly.
Romeo
It's
and
like,
Juliet.
all right, fucking, you're both being whiny bitches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
between like that and the brat battles. Honestly, like so these characters they're getting to know each other, and we're seeing a lot of these like back and forths that you really saw with the hobbits early on, but did not happen with the Fellowship very much prior to this moment, because it's like
They're all being polite.
not only they don't fucking know each other,
Right.
Yeah.
They're
And now
starting to
they're-
get on each other's nerves now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever like been on a work trip with people who just by the end of it you're ready to like leave them in a dumpster somewhere?
Yeah.
Even like family vacations.
Family vacation.
By the end of it,
yeah.
you're always like, there's always one person you could vote off the island.
Yeah.
Just you don't get to come home.
Family dinners.
Yeah.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God, yeah.
I wanted to empathize with Pippin when they were told they had to sleep on a platform on a tree.
Yes.
And he was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a bird. I
Dude.
couldn't sleep up
I
here."
love that line. I am not a bird, so I shan't. I shan't be sleeping up here.
I would have had the same reaction though. Like, there's no way I could sleep if I could just roll over and fall out of a tree.
So I have a question for everybody here, because I thought about this in this moment. The idea of awful, awful, awful sleep. And I was curious, when, if you remember back in your life, was the worst sleep you ever had? And I don't mean a night where you didn't get to sleep. That's different, I think, right?
You're trying to sleep.
But when you truly laid down to sleep, you just couldn't. And why?
Probably last night. We went up to see the movie and we got movie theater dinner and food. And like the only other thing I'd eaten that day was maybe a light breakfast and some like fried cauliflower.
And a couple
and
beers
beer.
at lunch.
And then we had more drinks and more like fried food. And then dessert. And then more beer and drinks. I felt like I had a brick in my stomach.
Oh no!
And I laid down and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to sleep."
You didn't
took
sleep
me-
well last night.
No, it took me a long time because like just the lump in my stomach.
Yeah.
And you lay down and you're like, is that going to stay there?
You lay down
And you're like, well, I think I could lay on my back.
start blasting.
You try every single position and you're like, which one hurts the least?
Oh no, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So that might not be the worst sleep ever, but definitely comes
It
to mind.
stands out in your memory.
It stands
yeah.
out because
It's
it was
fresh.
last
What
night.
stands out for you guys?
I got one that will like haunt me forever. In college, I was like drunk as hell at a party. To be fair, everyone was drunk. And it was this like apartment party and it was dorms. And so I went to go like just pass out and I was like, all right, I'll just sleep on the floor. This is fine. And so I lay down to go to sleep and I'm just on like a concrete floor and the lights come on immediately. Somebody gets on their computer and just starts playing music. And like, I'm just like, I'm asleep. This is okay. Because I don't know who this person is or even whose room I'm in.
Yeah.
And it was just that until dawn.
Oh, no.
And I was just laying there waiting for the music to stop. And it just never did.
I guess for me, the worst sleep experience of my life, and it's kind of like a sad one, is like the last 2 years of my mom's life, she was in and out of the hospital all the time. And one of the many times she had to stay in the ER overnight, they were like, she's probably not going to move to a room till like 5 a.m. in the morning. And she had early dementia, so she wanted me to leave. And you were like out of town or something. And I was like, okay. And I just tried to sleep on a plastic hard chair in the ER.
Oh my God.
And
That's
it like,
terrible.
I probably looked like I was falling on heroin because I'd be like trying to stay awake. And I'd be like,
Like dipping
like
to the
you're, yeah, I was
side?
just dipping. My neck was like all messed up, and she kept like waking up and like Robbie. It's like I think I slept
gosh.
35 minutes
Oh my God.
in a little plastic chair in the ER
That's not
with like
good.
just a curtain. It wasn't even a room.
Oh no.
That was
yeah.
definitely hands down the worst night's sleep I've ever had. And
Nights
for
not
our
sleep.
listeners, I did sleep with quotations, so I really didn't sleep.
Yeah, because you don't even get to sleep really.
No, that was awful.
I think the worst sleep that ever comes to mind is the first time I visited the legendary Penn State University.
Whoa.
But I got invited from somebody to come for a party, and I went, and I had a really good time at said party.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like midnight, 12:30. I'm tired. I'm done. And my friend's like, just sleep on the couch, bro. I was like, all right, sounds good. I lay on the couch, put a blanket on me, and then I realized as I closed my eyes, I had committed to going to bed, that the party had just started.
What?
In the place where I was staying. More people were arriving to the house. And I had to pretend to sleep.
My God.
Because I had gone to bed. And I laid there till about 4:30 in the morning as another like 100 people came through this party. And I just sat there. Not even sat there. I laid there with my eyes closed, pretending to sleep for like 5 hours.
Oh my God.
And I bet that's how Pippin felt.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I related to Pippin when he talked about like how hard it was. And, God bless Samwise. He was able to just pass out.
It was the concussion.
And he was like, I like his reasoning. He was like, hey, look, if I roll off in my sleep off this platform and I fall to my doom, I'll be asleep.
Right.
And I won't even know
still
what
be
happened.
asleep.
If I die, it's a you problem.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a great way of looking at things.
He
I
was
really
also trying to
appreciate
get
that.
Pippin to shut up.
Yeah. I've done that before.
Have you
For
ever
sure.
fallen out of rolled out of a bed?
Yeah.
I've rolled out of a bunk bed before. You wake up on the floor.
Dude.
It's real fucking confusing.
My friend Jake Myers and I, when we were kids, I had bunk beds in my bedroom, and we both we shared a bed in the top bunk bed. I forget how we were, maybe 6, 7. We were very young. So it's easy to fall asleep when you're having a sleepover with your friends and you're like, well, this is so fun. We're going to go to bed. But then you spread out and your arms get wide and your legs get wide and you spread out. And I pushed him off the top bunk. And he fell and he hit my desk on the way down.
Oh, Jesus.
And his ribs were black, and so his whole chest was black and blue when he woke up. And in the middle of the night, I heard boom, and then I heard,
Oh no.
and I, in the pitch black, leaned my head over into the darkness of my bedroom, off of my top bunk, and I went, "It's okay, bud. Shh."
God.
It's okay, you're fine. And he went, ugh, ugh, ugh. I went, you're fine. You're fine. Dude, you're fine. Don't wake my parents. I don't want to get in trouble. Just shut the fuck up, okay? You're fine. He's like, ugh. He like had like the wind knocked out of him in his sleep, and I felt so bad for it. And I saw him a couple years ago, and he brought it up. I saw him in like 2019, and he was like, "You remember when you pushed me off your fucking top bunk?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry," and I almost cried. I was so upset that he remembered.
It's his lasting memory of you.
And I was like, "Shh."
He's gonna bring that up at your funeral.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, and that's what I thought of with the whole Sam Pippin thing on the thing. I was like, oh my god. I thought of you, Jake. I was thinking about you. Anyway, that's it. Anybody else have anything else they want to chat
So
about?
I looked up what Aragorn says. Okay, so I did not look up how to pronounce or the Elvish. However, I looked up the translation.
Oh.
And he says, Arwen, beautiful and beloved, farewell.
So that's at the base of the hill.
With the flower in his
the
hand.
flower.
His beautiful memory that he's just going to live in for eternity. And I was
That hurts
like,
my heart.
it made me tear up. I was like, once I learned it, I was like, I can't cry 2 episodes in a row.
Dude, that's like
It's
heavy.
so
Like,
heavy and beautiful. It's literally the other side of the coin of the last chapter. in a sense.
yeah.
That shit is his heaven.
Yeah.
That's what he wants for an afterlife.
and
He's like so
"Fuck."
unworthy of her. That's like all he gets is
He's
a
like,
beautiful
I
farewell.
told this hobbit that I will take him to Mordor, and because of that promise, I will never return here.
Right.
He didn't know that.
Oh, he knew it. He knew it.
I mean, you can assume things.
He knew it in his heart that he was going on a journey that would not end well.
I just
Well,
had to
yeah.
look
He's
that up.
smart enough to know that.
I'm glad you did. I was wondering what it
Elrond
meant.
is smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
That's why he told nobody.
Yeah.
No one has to go but Frodo. He was real
Yeah.
clear about that.
My
But
thought process to
Aragorn
looking it
swore
up though
his-
is that the appendix
swore it.
was listed on elves and language, and I was like, maybe it said something about the language. Maybe you could have figured it out from the appendix. I'm doing it.
Hey, you know what I think Lorien really, at the end of the day, represents?
What?
It represents a treat.
A treat.
Yeah,
It is a treat.
We got a little treat today?
We sure do.
do
And
we
it's all
got?
about Lorien.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh, what do we got here?
All right. So, I had a hard time with this chapter because there wasn't really food mentioned, but I wanted to capture that feeling, that essence of Lothlorien, and that, even in
The
the
air of smugness.
yes, that.
The golden leaves.
Even in the depth of winter, it pulls you out into a spring and a summertime feel, and you're just at peace with the world. So I have created a drink which I call the Lothlorien Fizz.
Okay. All right.
You can have a taste, and then I'll tell you what's in it.
All right.
All right.
Hopefully, Chris isn't allergic to anything.
Well, cheers.
All right, guys.
Oh, we'll be fine.
Oh goodness,
Oh, you give me some of
that
yours,
was
huh?
very weird.
Yeah.
Chris's glass just splashed directly into Pat's glass, or maybe the other way around.
So for our listeners, this is a beautiful pale yellow effervescent beverage in a very nice cocktail glass. It kind of looks
Sangria
like
glass.
a hurricane glass, but not quite. And it smells very sweet and light.
Lemony.
Yeah, very lemon forward.
I did a lot of
good.
searching for the ultimate summer cocktail because I really wanted to evoke summer.
Yes.
feelings.
Food,
I
dye,
feel
and vodka.
poolside.
Good. It probably should have had a little bit more club soda
There's
to
chlorine in it.
lighten it up. But it's got limoncello, which gives you sort of that lemonade
Ooh.
flavor.
Very elven too.
A little bit of gin, lots of lemon juice, and a touch of the strawberry gin, the Gordons that we got
fell in
from
love
Ireland.
with in Ireland. Oh,
And that gives it just that tiny little fruity kick.
it's so
That's different.
delicious.
And then it's topped with club soda.
So I have a question. How many units of alcohol are in my hand?
A lot.
It's an
How
elven
many
wine.
jewels would you say are in this?
So many.
5.
Yeah.
How many barrels? We're dead.
Maybe we drink half of it and then we top the rest with more club soda.
I'm
And
drinking
that's what
all
I was
this.
going for.
I
was
care.
trying to mix this up in a
Laura,
fancy
I work
shaker.
tomorrow, but you know what? Fuck
Yeah.
it. I'm drinking it.
Laura,
It
that is
filled the shaker so much that I had to split it in
You
two
couldn't shake?
because I couldn't fit ice in it to shake. And that was before the club soda.
Laura,
Yeah?
drinking half of this, then topping it with
Club soda.
club soda, and then drinking the rest is not different than drinking the whole thing.
However, club soda actually pushes the alcohol into your bloodstream faster.
Does it?
Yes. So
Let's not go there.
I used to be a bartender. And one thing you learn is that if someone orders a double and they get club soda, they'll get drunker faster than if they got it with Sprite because the sugar breaks down the alcohol in your body. But club soda has no sugar in it, so it just shoots the alcohol into the bloodstream faster. And I was 21 learning this going, thank you so much. I now know how I'm ordering my drinks. And I don't have to order as much and I'm going to get fucked up.
So I had a question for everybody. I found myself laughing quite hard when they described Nimrod-el
Oh.
and that there was a song of Nimrod-el.
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 Okay.
Wow.
It's Nimrod-el. Is
it
how
is.
it's spelled.
Okay. So
He's not wrong.
There's a very famous album called Nimrod. And there's a very famous song from the album Nimrod.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes, another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. And it's a Green Day song. And that is a song that came to mind. And I pictured Legolas singing Green Day.
Good.
Instead of his Elven song.
I like
instead of
that.
his Elven song.
You should have put the song to that rhythm and sang it for us.
I might do that.
You should. We'll cut it into this episode. Oh, no, you got to do it right now.
An elven maid there was of old, a shining star by day. Her mantle white was helmed with gold, her shoes of silver gray. A star was bound upon her brows, a light was on her hair. A sun upon the golden boughs, and Lothlorien the fair. Her hair was long, her limbs were white and fair, she was and free. And in the wind she went as light as leaf in linder tree.
Okay, there's 2 more pages.
There's a lot of it, but that's what I thought
too
of.
many syllables.
That's exactly what I thought of. I was like, dude,
my God.
William Joseph Armstrong would be very happy if he read Tolkien and said, my song works here. But I
bet
think
we
it's
could fit it to
interesting.
another song.
Yeah, because that song is about nostalgia. It's about
It's perfect.
the light in your life fading. And it's on the record Nimrod.
Who's Green Day?
Oh, my God.
Well, you know what, Chris?
I thought that was so interesting. I was like, dude, this is a weird coincidence.
You bring up bottle.
No, please.
You bring up an interesting point. So early on in reading this book series, you actually said you thought the songs were terrible, especially the Tom Bombadil songs.
Yeah.
So maybe at first, like glance or when you first read them, they're not great, but they're kind of universal. Like we put them so far to Les Mis, Green Day, and they kind of work.
They translate.
Yeah.
These drinks are deadly good.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. Wait, what's yours taste like? Let me see that one.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was good too. All right. That's a wrap on Lothlorien, which is chapter 6 of book 2 of the Fellowship of the Ring. What's next week's chapter? Chapter 7.
Chapter 7, The Mirror of Galadriel.
Galadriel, the mirror of Galadriel.
Mirror,
Yes.
not mirror.
Not mirror, the mirror.
Not mirror, mirror.
No.
So this is not the mirror. This is the mirror. The mirror Galadriel.
Mergadrill.
Galadriel. All right, so Galadriel is the next chapter.
Welcome to next week.
I can't wait to explore that deeper. Thanks for tuning in for Fool of a Took. We are here to entertain you. We are here to have fun.
Look, I finished.
No. Oh,
Congrats.
bye-bye, Pat.
The whole point of this podcast is to have fun with your friends.
Yeah.
Also, last minute thing, make sure you follow us on all the social media, and also make sure you share it with your friends, because we would appreciate it.
Cheers.
Catch up.
I mean, was she her own mirror?